Hey, all right. It's the Android Headline Show, episode 90. This is all about CES 2015. Man, I am so excited. There's so much stuff going on at CES. I'm so excited. Shoot, I didn't even put up my lower thirds, man. Not even worried about it tonight. We're just going to jump right into it.
I didn't do mine either.
Yep. No, man, I'm telling you, we were so excited. But my name's Jeremiah from the site. I'm joined tonight by Alex. You want to say what's up, man?
What's up, everybody? And my lower third is backwards. There we go.
Yep, good stuff. I should probably get mine up too. So Nick is live at CES. He's been there since Saturday midday. He flew into Vegas, and he's been absolutely crushing it, man. Taking all kinds of pictures, catching all kinds of news. He sat down with Carl Pei from OnePlus and had a good interview with him. He went to the Lenovo party last night, had a good time there. So, but yeah, man, we're just talking all CES 2015. There's been a ton of stuff, which we were expecting. But I think, Alex, you said earlier on, some of the most exciting stuff for you was Android TV and Android Auto.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that much. Android TV, Android Auto implementation, I guess is the right word for that. Products there. Sony's decided to go all in with Android TV so that all their Bravia TVs coming out, I think starting in May, are going to run Android TV. That thing is so thin. It's like, I think they said 4.9 millimeters thin. Most smartphones are around 8 millimeters thin, so that's about half the thickness of your smartphone nowadays, probably even less. Philips as well as Sharp are doing Android TV. Can't remember if Razer's doing an Android TV box. I don't remember if anybody else is. Or is it Razer? Might be somebody else. I think they have an Android console for gaming.
Yes, Razer has the Android console.
Somebody has an Android TV box. I can't remember who it is. There's so much news in the last 3 days. Well, 4 if you count today.
What's been exciting to me is to see basically every major manufacturer jump on Android TV. So everybody, they're all saying, hey, we're putting Android TV in our smart TVs. This is going to be our platform. The fact that Sony and Philips have signed on for all of their TVs in 2015 and moving forward, all of their smart TVs are going to have Android TV. They're going all in on Android TV.
Yeah, now I think Samsung and LG, they did it, but that's not really surprising. Samsung's all about Tizen, so they're putting that on all their TVs. And then LG's been developing WebOS for TVs for, I think it's 2 years now, because they just they announced 2.0 Monday. They announced 2.0, which it looks really nice. But I'd like to see at least one Android TV from each of them. Just because some people like Samsung better than Sony's TVs or Sharp's or LG, etc. Choice.
Yep. And we may see, I doubt we'll see any LG TVs with Android TV because they've signed on with WebOS. They spent a bunch of money on that.
Yeah, they bought WebOS a couple of years ago from HP.
Yep. I wouldn't be surprised to see Samsung slap Android TV on some of their phones, as well as Tizen.
You mean
I haven't heard anything about it. Yeah, I'm sorry, not phones, TVs.
Put Android TV on your phone.
Yes, Android TV on your phone. Put Android TV on their TVs, along with Tizen. But I don't know. We'll see.
Dual OS TV, not bad.
Right. Now, my thing is, I don't really, and maybe it'll be different with Android TV, but up to this point, I haven't really cared about a smart TV. Give me a dumb TV and let me plug in a Google TV box or some kind of home media center or even just my Chromecast. I'm not that worried about having a smart TV Maybe
Yeah,
that's just because they've all sucked up until this point.
I have a smart TV from Vizio. I don't remember the exact model. It's like a 29-inch, you know, Vizio TV. It's not super expensive, so it's, the smart capabilities aren't that great. It's basically just has Wi-Fi built in, but it has an Ethernet port in the back. But I haven't used any of its smart capabilities after the first day I got it. I
Right.
pretty much use it for Chromecast and PlayStation 4. That's it. And I just switch between the two HDMI ports.
Yep. And most people, I feel like, are using their cable box. They're using,
Yep.
their Blu-ray player. They're using their Xbox or their PlayStation,
Or their
Chromecast.
Chromecast, Nexus Player, Fire TV, Roku,
Yep.
all that stuff.
So how much this actually matters, I don't really know, but it's pretty cool to see Android TV get on everything.
I'd like to see more set-top boxes though. I mean, the Nexus Player was nice. It had some issues. I don't know if that was all hardware or software. Probably can be mostly fixed with software, which we'll see soon. But it was a pretty nice set-top box for first gen Android TV. Well, if you want to say first gen, because there was Google TV. Also, they're saying some Google TV models are getting updated to Android TV. I didn't see which ones, but I remember seeing somewhere that some of them are getting updated. Probably like the newer ones.
Well, I still have a Hisense Pulse in a box, so if they update that
In a
to Android,
box.
uh, dude, I put it in a box when I got my Chromecast. I haven't touched it since.
I thought you used it for like streaming games and stuff because of a web browser.
Well, I just started pulling that up on my laptop and casting it,
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
so no need for it anymore. But yeah, pretty cool. So we'll keep an eye on that. Especially, I had not heard that some of the Google TV stuff, Google TV boxes were getting updated to Android TV. That's cool.
Yeah, I saw it over on the Verge, I think, this afternoon. I didn't see the list, though, of which ones were getting updated. They might not even know. They might have just said some are getting updated.
Yeah, yeah, pretty cool. And then Android Auto is also all over the place, and this was a little bit surprising, but also really cool to see.
Yeah, because Google didn't even really announce anything for Android Auto other than at I/O. Basically, Android Auto is coming. And I was kind of expecting to see a lot of car manufacturers, what they call it, the Open Automotive Alliance, I think is the name of that alliance or something.
Yep, that's
But
right.
there's a lot of car makers in there, including NVIDIA. Obviously not a car maker, but they're making the chips for the infotainment system that Android TV is going to run on. I think Qualcomm might be in there too. But there's a lot of car makers at CES now. So instead of just going to the auto show, which is where I expected them all to be, which is they're coming to Detroit actually middle of next week. So I'll be checking that out in a couple of weeks when I go there to the auto show. But Chevy, I think their entire 2015 line or 2016 line, or is it 2015?
They'll be announcing next year, so 2016,
Yeah,
right?
their entire
Yep.
line is gonna have Android Auto. Kind of confusing. Um, they showed the 2016 Volt, but they're only really showing part of it, just like the Android Auto stuff. They're making you wait until next week for when they unveil it at the North American International Auto Show. Um, I think it's Panasonic. They have like an aftermarket one that you can put in. It's actually set up for like a minivan or something like that, not like a regular car. So you've got that. Who else? JVC, Kenwood, a few
Yeah,
others as well, right?
this was the most surprising thing to me. Kenwood, Pioneer, JVC all have like multimedia receivers in dash units that you can install aftermarket for like $300 or $400. Some of them. So it's pretty cool that we're seeing that because I was expecting it to come from manufacturers. I wasn't expecting all these third parties to come in with in-dash units that you could buy and have installed. That to me makes Android Auto a lot more accessible.
Yep.
I can drop a couple $100 on replacing my in-dash unit or putting one in if I don't have one, as opposed to buying a whole new car.
Yep.
Um, Melvin is asking, isn't Android Auto based on QNX?
I
I
have
think so.
I have really have no idea.
Yeah, I think it is. I'd have to look it up to the underlying software. Uh, I think it's all QNX based, um, but I'm not 100%. Melvin, I'd have to check. Just a quick Google search should probably tell us that, but um, I think it is.
Yeah, it's on top of QNX. I just
Yeah.
googled it.
So is Apple's CarPlay, right? Like
Uh,
everything is run on QNX.
Most likely it is.
That was one of the things recently that I was reading somewhere, or maybe I heard it on a podcast. One of the things with BlackBerry that nobody's really focused on is the fact that they own QNX and it's going into all these cars now.
Actually, CarPlay isn't on QNX,
Oh, it's
which
not.
shouldn't be surprising, given that it's Apple.
Yeah, yeah. But yes, so Android Auto is Melvin.
Yes, this is what they're saying about CarPlay is Apple doesn't make or license embedded operating systems. So that will be why.
Okay.
Which is
Cool.
probably why they have less bugs. Well, sometimes, except for when they kill your internet.
Eh, That's going to lead to the same thing like we have right now. Android Auto being a somewhat open system built on a standardized platform like QNX
Could you
versus
imagine? I just rooted my, infotainment system in my car, and now it's bricked. Can I get CyanogenMod on it?
right, right. Why would you even do that? Also, it's probably going to be illegal because that stuff is highly
Yeah.
regulated.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be really locked down in that regard. But it's open for OEMs to work with it. Because all the hands-on stuff I saw from like Panasonic's version, Chevy, I think Audi has it as well.
Yeah.
They all basically look exactly the same. Like the screen looks the same. I mean, different sizes, etc., like that. But for the most part, it's all the same, which is what you expect. And it's the same thing with Android Wear and Android TV.
And some of these, I don't know about the, the manufacturers, what they're building into their new cars, like Chevy and Audi. I don't know how they're handling it, but some of the in-dash units that you can get give you the choice between AirPlay, or excuse me, CarPlay,
Yeah.
and Android Auto. So no matter which phone you have, when you get in, you just plug it in and it works.
Well, good thing Microsoft doesn't have one because you'd probably get that blue screen of death a lot.
Yeah, Microsoft had their stuff in the um, Ford Explorers, right?
Oh yeah, the Ford Sync.
Yep.
Totally forgot about that. Huh?
I don't know if that ever blue screened, but um,
Probably.
oh, and Melvin's asking, are there any benefits from rooting your infotainment device? No idea, man. I have absolutely no idea. This stuff's too new. I
Yeah.
can't think of anything off the top of my head. Like, what are
I
you gonna?
wouldn't want to because well, all the issues I've had with rooting lately, even though that's mostly because there weren't Nexus devices, I wouldn't root it.
Well, and what would you get out of it? Be able to use it as a portable hotspot, but you still gotta. Yeah, I don't know.
I know
Uh,
Chevy has that deal with AT&T for LTE, so you can add your card to your wireless plan for like $10 a month. But that's
right.
still, that's going into your data bucket that you have for all your devices. I don't know how like the third party manufacturers are going to do it. Maybe you still have to connect with your phone to use it. We'll see.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't actually used it, so I have no idea really.
It's too new at this point, and I can't think of any benefits of rooting your entertainment center in your car. But
It's the same thing with rooting your smartwatch. I don't see a reason to do that either.
yep.
Plus, I wouldn't want to.
Well, those are two really exciting things coming out of CES that are specifically Android related. We've seen a ton of stuff that's not Android related that's also really exciting. Um, but let's jump into some other CES stuff, man, because there's a bunch of it. Uh, ridiculous, something absolutely ridiculous that we saw yesterday, I
Beyond
think.
Monday.
So Monday. Okay, so Sony announced a new Walkman device, which is cool. You know, they're building on a old brand that
Yeah, I didn't expect them
had
to actually announce that thing.
right, and they've been using the Walkman brand forever for different. We had Walkman phones. This is just their Walkman. Now we've got a Walkman Media Center. It's specifically for quote unquote high res audio. It's $1,200.
Well, at least you get 128 gigs of storage.
How much does a 128 gig micro SD card cost on Amazon?
Well,
Not $1,200.
just looking at their price, it looks like it's like what 100 or is it $10 per gig? That's $100 per gig, isn't it?
Yep. Just
128
under.
gigs. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Uh,
I mean,
it's
I guess Sony is always pretty kind of expensive. I mean, I buy a lot of Sony stuff, but come on, $1,200 for a Walkman. I mean, Apple charges what under 300 for their iPod. That's like 3 years old now.
yep.
iPod Touch, and it's running Android 4.2. You couldn't even give us at least KitKat.
Out of the box, it supports MP3 obviously, but it also supports FLAC and WAV files and AV files. So it's high-res audio. It's designed with all that storage for high quality, high bit rate audio files. But again, it's just obviously it's not meant for you and I, Alex. We are not the target market for this $1,200, essentially $1,200 iPod.
I don't even know what the market is.
Yeah,
I mean,
audiophiles who have extra money to spend.
I don't
Couldn't
even
even
know
think
if
about it,
they
man.
spend that much because they don't even spend that much on like headphones.
Oh well, you'd be surprised, man. Yeah, they do. On headphones and amps and the audiophile market is insane. So somebody's going to buy this thing, but I don't know why you would. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I like Sony stuff, but this it just has me so puzzled.
Yep.
While we're still talking about Sony, they're pushing out Lollipop to Z3 next month, and that was
Yes.
pretty much their entire press conference was those that and the Android TV on their Bravias.
Yeah, but if you've got an Xperia device, they're starting with the Z3 in February.
I didn't actually watch
And
the press conference. I don't know if they say anything about the Z2 or the Z3V. I'm pretty sure the Z3 Compact will get at the same time as the Z3.
they said the Z3 family or the Xperia family.
Yeah, the
So,
Z3 family includes the V because they were talking about that at their event back in November, October, whenever that Verizon event was.
yep. So like I've got a Z2 and I'm waiting on it, but I'll wait till they get it right. I'm not in a hurry on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll start rolling out in February for all the Xperia devices, which is what they had said before. Early 2015.
And that's a lot quicker than Sony used to be. They used to
Yeah.
be very, very slow. Probably one of the slowest, right behind LG. Because LG used to be real slow before KitKat. And KitKat, I think they beat Samsung or right at the same time.
hmm and we still haven't heard any official time frames from like HTC, and it's just been the standard 90 days. So
Yeah, officially we haven't heard anything, but was it that Lab Twofer guy on Twitter that has all that HTC info?
yeah,
He says it's just about done. It's just going through certification now for the M8.
okay, cool.
So if you're not in the U.S., you'll probably get it next week. If you're in the U.S., it'll probably be about a month from now, depending on the carrier.
Yeah. We also heard some rumors that Sony was showing off the Xperia Z4 and Samsung was showing off the Galaxy S6 to
And
carriers.
HTC, well, they're saying it's not going to be the M9, but their next flagship, which that they do that every year at pretty much every trade show like this, showing it to carriers, other partners, like Expanses, those sites that sell the phones unlocked. They just want they want you to carry the phone, so they gotta show it off to you, get you to sign up.
Yep, yep. So those are out there floating around at CES, although not on the show floor and not available to the public.
Although the
Uh,
one thing I did see about the Z4 is it's going to be even more waterproof than before and no flaps, which has me excited.
yes, because that's the one
Those
thing I hate about the Z2 is the damn
that's the
flaps on the
one
side.
that is like the only thing that kept me from getting the Z3 or the Z3 Compact.
If they can make it waterproof or water resistant
Because
without those, man, that'd be huge.
the Z3 and the Z3 Compact, I'm pretty sure they're not Qi charging. The Z3V is, but I don't think the other two are.
Mm-mm. No. So pretty cool. What else? Alcatel, or Alcatel's parent company, TCL, is trying to bring Palm back to life. They bought what is left of Palm after LG bought WebOS. Um, TCL wants to basically it's kind of weird. Like they want to crowdsource kind of Palm. And for both hardware and software, bring new devices with new Palm software to market based on like consumer opinion. So it's kind of a weird thing they're doing where they are like asking, "Hey, what should we do with Palm? What do you want to see with Palm?"
Yeah.
Um, we don't really know what kind of devices we're going to be seeing from them. It's really in some early stages. TCL is just saying that they want inspiration to come from the tech community. Uh, they've got engineers and R&D people working on it, but they want to bring Palm back to life.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, just move on. But they're doing it, and I'm sure there's some, Palm fanatics that
Oh yeah,
are.
there's a lot out there. There's a lot of WebOS fans too.
Yep.
I never used it, so I'm obviously not a fan.
Yeah, WebOS is fantastic, man. It was great.
Everything I've heard about it is great, and the fact that Matthias was on WebOS and then came to Google just pretty much confirms that it was great.
Yeah, the problem with WebOS was it's kind of like the problem with Windows Phone now is just apps. There was never really a big app market for WebOS, so
Yeah, Windows Phone doesn't really have a big app market or service market or any market really.
yeah, and the OS itself is fine. It's quick, it'll do what
Yeah,
you need it to. The apps are not there, so this Google Cast for audio was something that really intrigued me as well. So Google is kind of taking Chromecast and making it not just for video anymore. Now you can cast audio. They're not calling it Chromecast. They're just calling it Google Cast, which is, I think, a smart branding move.
yep,
Kind of remove that Chrome piece. But there'll be speakers. So it's basically like a wireless standard. I don't know what exactly they're using, but something like DLNA or something where you can just take your audio and throw it to a speaker. And so we're going to be seeing speakers from Sony and LG and a bunch of others with this Google Cast function. You can just take your audio, throw it over to a speaker. Uh,
it's kind of like how I think Sonos works. I'm pretty sure that's how it works like that. That you can just put your music on a speaker, throw it over, and if you have different Sonos speakers throughout the house, it'll change based on where you are, or you can change it. I guess I've never used it, but that's from what I've seen and heard.
The video that they put up, like the promo, the commercial on YouTube, looks really cool. Like it looks super easy to use. You'll be able to use Google Cast with Google Play Music, obviously, but pretty much every other streaming music service as well.
Yeah.
iHeartRadio, Pandora, Rdio, TuneIn, Deezer, NPR One is on there, and a bunch of others too. I'm sure Spotify and basically any audio service. And I would imagine if it's anything like Chromecast, they'll have it'll be open or they'll have public APIs so that developers can build the Google Cast functionality into their media players. So whatever MP3s or whatever you have on your phone or your other Android device, you can just throw over to your speaker. I am excited about Google Cast because it looks really sweet. What else? What else, man? We're going down the list here. We're blazing through this because we need to. I'm gonna try and hit everything, all the major stuff, which there was a bunch. And I'm sure there's going to be stuff that we miss. If there's something exciting that you have seen at CES, drop us a note and we'll talk about it next week. Or
The Zenfone 2 is exciting.
the Zenfone 2 is very exciting. Where do I have that? I have that pulled up somewhere.
Especially for $199, and that's off contract. That's also for the 2 GB version, not the 4. But even at $199 for the 2 GB version, that will put that higher than the Moto G on my list of cheap phones to get.
Yeah. So it's running on a 64-bit MediaTek chip, right?
I think it's Intel. I think. Open it. Yeah, Intel powered smartphone.
Yep. Okay.
That's what it says in the link.
Yep. And you're right. And so, 64-bit Intel chip, 5.5-inch Full HD display, 4 gigs of RAM. Which at first I was like, oh, that's cool, and then I remembered that unused RAM is wasted RAM. So
Yeah.
who cares? But whatever.
Yeah, I have like 1.7 gigs free on my Nexus 6 right now.
Yeah. So and Android doesn't need 4 gigs of RAM to run smoothly. But sure, whatever.
Maybe with that Intel chip.
Yeah.
The interesting thing was not only the battery size, but the camera. It's a 13 megapixel camera, and the shots that they showed on screen, it looked even better than like the iPhone 6 Plus.
Yeah, it looked like it was getting some really good pictures.
I don't think Nick had enough time to really, check out the camera, because, after you do an event, there's hands-on, and everybody's pushing and shoving to get hands-on.
Right.
But
Right.
It's also got a 3,000 milliamp battery, but it doesn't have a Qualcomm processor, so there's no of their quick charge. But they do say that it'll go from empty to 60% in about 39 minutes, which still isn't bad for a 3,000 milliamp battery.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I've been spoiled by the turbocharger now with both the Moto X and the Nexus 6, so I hardly have to wait.
Yep. But yeah, man, so we saw this $199 phone from Asus. It looks great.
It's like a complete 360 from last year's Zenphones. Those were like, well, they're still cheap, but they were like, mid-range, low-end stuff. It's still Intel powered, but, they weren't really great at all. Tom reviewed, I think, the 4 or 5 and then the 6 LTE, and he was really only impressed with the 4 based on, like, the specs and stuff. But now it's like, it's still 1080p, isn't it, display? I don't remember.
Yeah. Yep.
72% screen-to-body ratio. Jeez.
Yep. It looks like it's got capacitive buttons, which sucks, but...
I mean, it's not a bad phone, because Asus doesn't make a whole lot of phones. It's like maybe 2 a year, if that. And that's all they've been doing with Android really lately. Well, other than Android TV and then the Nexus 7 before that. But they haven't been bringing the transformer back to Android. It's been all Windows transformers.
Yeah. But this looks nice. I didn't put this on the agenda, but Blue announced a whole bunch of like decent mid-range phones. for about the same price as this Zenfone, right around $200.
Dude, they
Um,
announced like more phones than Samsung did last year.
yeah,
I saw that email from them. I'm like, sheesh, you just announced like 6 of them not even a month ago, and now you just announced like 10 more.
yep,
That Vivo Air is so thin. What is it, like 5.5 millimeters thin? Currently,
yes,
it's the thinnest in the world, but that won't last long,
nope,
especially in China.
yep. So
It'll
and
probably be taken out by the company named Vivo. They usually are like the thinnest.
and those blue phones spec wise can't hang with the Zenfone 2.
No.
But
Also, the Zenfone 2 is LTE.
a lot of blues new stuff is too.
Not
Not
the
all
ones
of
they
it.
announced. Not like I think one out of the ones they announced this week are LTE. Most of them are 21 or HSPA 21. A couple are 42.
I know that super thin one is not LTE.
No, because that was the first thing I looked at in the spec sheet. It's like LTE, LTE. Nope, nope.
No.
Dang it.
Yep. Um, so it was that. Man, that was exciting though. The Zenfone 2, you're right. It's an absolute beast. It's a
Yeah,
monster.
Melvin's talking about that LG refrigerator, which I
Oh gosh.
we only cover Android, so I didn't really see it. But I was watching The Verge's video about LG's crazy appliances. And I saw the washing machine where you pull it out, you get another washing machine underneath. But this one
Yeah.
has like 6 doors. Like you open the two at the top, and then there's two more that open up. Then you got the two at the bottom.
It's
It's
crazy.
crazy. That's LG, or maybe that's just South Korea because Samsung does the same thing.
Yep. Doing crazy stuff.
Let's see what
Motorola
else.
announced that they're
Oh
bringing
yeah,
the Moto X, the Moto G, and a Moto X Pro, which is the Nexus 6.
it's this.
Yep.
So finally they get a de-Google Nexus 6. I just wonder what app store is going to be on there
Mm.
because Google Play is blocked. I think Amazon is blocked. So I have no idea.
Xiaomi
I'm assuming
or
it's going to be whatever Lenovo uses
yeah.
because I'm pretty sure that's why they're going to China now is Lenovo.
Are they? And they're still calling them, with the Motorola names, right? Like they're not changing it to a
Nope.
Lenovo name,
The only one that's been changed is the Nexus 6. It's the Moto X Pro,
right? Okay.
which I actually like that name for this phone because that's what
Yeah.
it is really.
Yeah.
And it's like the Mizu MX4 and MX4 Pro. You've got a really good smaller phone. Then you got theirs isn't really that much bigger though. It's like 0.2 inch difference. This is like a full inch, but
Yep.
still it's like that's perfect for the Chinese market. Speaking of Lenovo basically, they announced a couple of really nice phones, especially that Vive X2 Pro, that tri-colored one. I want that.
Yeah, that thing looks nice, man. I wrote that press release. They or not their press release, but I wrote it up when they released the press release. It's like metal. It's like layered colored metal. Um, Dual 13 megapixel cameras on it. It's got a big battery, good looking screen. Those phones, that and I think the P90 was the other one. The P90
Yep.
had like a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, but neither of those are coming to the States. They're just going to
Yeah.
China.
That's what Lenovo does is they put like 4,000 milliamp batteries in their phones, and they don't put it in like their high end ones. They put it in like their mid range ones. So if you get like imagine like a Moto G with 4,000 milliamp battery in there. That battery is beast.
That makes me wonder if maybe because we've seen like Xiaomi and Huawei and a bunch of Chinese companies put giant batteries in their phones. I wonder if the like TD LTE networks that they run on are really inefficient in batteries.
They are. I was using it when I was in Beijing on the MX4, and when I was using the MX4 here in the US on T-Mobile HSPA, battery was so much better. I mean, I was using it a lot heavier there because I was basically on TDLT the entire time because I was able to use Google stuff on that and I can on Wi-Fi. So I was pretty much on that the entire time, so the battery was worse because of that. But man, batteries sucked.
And that's
It reminded me of like the Thunderbolt days in Droid Bionic.
yeah. So that makes sense.
But it's
Their
like
networks are just not as efficient
yeah,
and chew up the battery, so they have to put big, 4,000 or 6,000 milliamp hour batteries in them.
it's like they got these TDLT networks that put out like 2 to 3 megabytes. It's like such a
Yeah.
waste. I, I I'm trying to figure out though, is it because there's just so many people there that there's not enough bandwidth for everybody, or is it just because the networks suck?
It's probably a little bit of both. I'm sure that it could
Yeah,
be tuned and
I mean,
optimized. The networks
because
could, but I'm sure they
Beijing
have
is
major.
like their version of New York City basically. So it's packed, and that's where I was. So I don't know if that's the reason or something else. Because man,
Yeah.
internet over there is so terrible. I was so glad to get back home.
It's also all blocked and firewalled, so
Well, if you roam
gotta.
through T-Mobile, there's no firewall, but when you get on Wi-Fi, there is. So I was only
Yeah.
able to check my email on my phone
Yeah. Yeah.
as long as I wasn't on Wi-Fi. But yes, 1,700 sites are blocked.
Good night. That's no good, China.
Pretty much every social network we use is blocked. Well, obviously Google Plus, but Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, everything. Skype.
Yeah. Well, they don't want anything that we use. They want to do it all themselves. So,
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
what else? Let's see. The first day.
You want to talk about
Uh,
that Acer Chromebook?
yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about the new NVIDIA Tegra X1 chip too.
Oh yeah, I don't really know anything about that. I was asleep because
Yes,
this
this
thing
was
starts at like 11:30 p.m. here, so I was asleep.
well, and NVIDIA announced it on Sunday, so
Yeah,
it was before CES even officially started.
yeah. Nvidia is always the first one. They always have like that 8 p.m. Pacific time one on Sunday after CES unveiled.
Yep. So the Tegra X1 is a octa-core chip, 8-core CPU with a Maxwell-based 256-core GPU. It's just a monster of a chip. 64-bit architecture. Um, they NVIDIA says it's the world's first super chip to achieve 1 teraflops in mobile computing. Um, so it's just the next super fast chip they're going to be packing into their devices.
Yeah, we'll probably really only see it in like the new Shield tablets and Shield devices really,
Yeah,
because Nvidia just isn't that popular with OEMs these days. Asus used to use it on everything, but now they've switched to Intel. HP used it in that 15-inch Chromebook, or not Chromebook, but Android tablet or laptop they had. It worked pretty well. Well, actually, I think it was the Tegra 4, not the K1, but it still worked pretty well.
yep, yep.
And we probably won't see it till the second half of the year, probably closer to Q4.
I have to get Nick to kind of dive into that a little bit more because he understands that stuff a little bit better than I do.
Yeah, I don't understand it either.
But dude, it's going to be a monster.
Oh yeah,
Um, and Acer announced that 15-inch Chromebooks. This is the first 15-inch Chromebook.
yep. They're touting us the world's first 15-inch Chromebook.
Yep.
Which, I mean, I guess it's true because was the Chromebook Pixel 12.85 or 14.85? I think it was 12.85.
Was it? I thought it was bigger. I thought it was almost 15 inches.
Yeah, I think it was 14.85.
I have to look that up. I don't remember. I believe it was 14.
I
Just
know
under
it's
15 inches, but
I know it was okay. It's 12.85. Okay, so yeah, this is still the
I'm wrong.
first 15-inch one. It's not a bad Chromebook at all. Um, Typically with Acer, you get all kinds of different options. 16 or 32 gigabyte SSD, Intel Celeron processor or i3, 2 or 4 gigs of RAM, so you can mix and match those things. They have pretty much every combination available. Prices start at $249, which is the crazy thing. Obviously, that's not going to be 4 gigs of RAM or 32 gigabyte SSD or an i3. It's just not going to happen at 249. But I wonder what the 4 gigabyte one will be, because for me, I don't care about the SSD size. Everything's in the cloud anyways.
Right, right. But yeah, man, that's pretty cool that you have the option of upgrading the processor from the Intel Celeron processor to a Core i3.
Also, they have 1366 by 768, which we all know sucks, but they also have it in 1080p, which is awesome.
So you can get a decent display on it too. Yep.
Yeah, and that definitely won't be 249.
No, no.
That 249 will be the the 1366 by 768 that we all hate now.
That's been one of the things about Chromebooks that has turned me off is that they've been underpowered. The screens are too small and the screen resolution is too low. Well, now for what? I mean, if you max it out with the Core i3 with a 1080p display and 4 gigs of RAM, it probably cost you $400. So
Sorry about that. Depending on what you do, like with your laptop all day, Chromebook might be perfect for you. It might not be. For me, for pretty much everything I do, it'll be perfect. I just have to find something else to do besides using Lightroom for pictures. But for everything else, I mean, everything's in Chrome anyway, so
yeah.
For the most part, it's not a big deal. I had the Samsung Chromebook, the first ARM one. It was not that good, and I think part of it is because Chrome OS wasn't really optimized for ARM yet. I don't think it still. But also, it was only 2 gigs of RAM, so like you open up more than 3 tabs. You go back to another one, it refreshes because it needed that memory that tab was using for your other tab. And when you've got as many tabs open as I do, that gets pretty annoying. Like right now, I have about 15 open, so.
Yeah. But yeah, this is exciting, man. It's cool to see a 15-inch Chromebook. Chromebooks are kind of stepping. I think this year we'll see them step up more.
For me, the 15 inch is still a little bit too big. I'd rather have, I think 13.3 is the sweet spot for me. So that 13 or Chromebook 13 they announced last year, it was pretty much perfect. But there's that memory leak with that was the Tiger K1 Chromebook, but there was a memory leak there. It's not really a big deal as long as you close Chrome every once in a while. But I don't really close Chrome that often, so it's kind of annoying for me. Other than that, it was a great machine, perfect size, lightweight. I mean, did everything you needed a Chromebook to do.
Yep.
They probably have the biggest market share too. I mean, they announce so many Chromebooks and they sell so well because they're so cheap.
Yep. Yeah.
HP might be second because that Chromebook 14 has been really popular. Well, for a while, it was the only one that wasn't 11 inches.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. So if you can find one bigger than 11 inches, that's great.
That and the HP Chromebook was the cheapest one with 4 gigs of RAM for a while. And it had LTE, so if you had T-Mobile, or even if you didn't have T-Mobile, you get free LTE, like 200 megabytes a month. I mean, it's not much, but it's free.
Right. Yeah, get the job done in a pinch.
Yep. But at least it's not 1500 like the Chromebook Pixel.
Yeah. Let's see. ZTE announced the X Max and the Z Max. So the Z Max is heading to T-Mobile. The X Max is heading to Cricket. It's basically the same phone. 5.7 inch.
I think you have the wrong.
6 inch. Yeah, the X Max Plus.
I don't think they announced the Z Max Plus. I think it's just for Cricket this time.
No, you're right. I'm sorry. Yep, I read that incorrectly.
Yeah.
So the Z Max on T-Mobile, but the X Max Plus is heading to Cricket with a 6-inch display.
Yeah, I know where I messed you up at because I wrote that article.
Good job, buddy.
I was comparing it to the Z Max and the X Max because it's just a bigger version.
Yeah. Yep.
5.7 to 6 inches. It's, what was it, $199? I think. A little more than that.
Yep, $199.
That's cheaper than the Z Max because the Z Max is 250 and it's got a bigger screen and pretty much all the same internals.
The display is only 720p, but it's got a 3200 milliamp hour battery, and the thing's gonna last
That,
forever.
that's what the Z Max is. 720p, 5.7-inch display, and it's got like a 3200 milliamp battery. That thing lasts for like ever.
Yep.
Because they let me keep the Z Max, so it's basically my Showbox Chromecast controller.
Nice. Nice.
Charge it like once a week.
Yep, that's cool, man. So that's a good option if you're on Cricket. Here's a big one. The LG G Flex 2.
That red one is hot.
Yeah, so this is something to get excited about. The G Flex 2 has a 5.5-inch display, so they shrunk it down from the massive 6-inch display.
I was surprised that it's the same size as the G3.
Right, right.
I expected it to basically take the place of the G Pro because they're stopping the G Pro line. So I expected 5.7, 5.8 if they went down from 6. But now that they've gone down to 5.5, the rumors of the G4 being smaller, I'm starting to believe now.
Yeah, yeah, and that's fine. Take.
I mean, 5.3 in that body, still perfect. Actually, it would be a smaller body because of their bezels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just hope they bring that self-healing back to like the G4 and the other ones because they said in their press conference that like when you scratch the back of the G Flex, it took I think like around 10 minutes for it to disappear. Now it's up to 10 seconds, so it literally disappears in front of your own eyes.
Yep.
I mean,
They need to bring that self-peeling plastic to everything.
yeah, I mean it's plastic, but man, that's cool.
Yep. I'm not as concerned with it. I mean, the glass on the back of my Z2 is a little bit scratched up,
Yeah, they did a better job on at least the Z3V. I didn't really use the Z3. I had to send that to Justin to review. But the Z3V, they did a lot better with the glass. Because after like 2 weeks, I had like no scratches. Z1, scratches everywhere.
Yeah, and that's what's starting to happen with my Z2. Like I'm gonna want to put a case on it somehow, or even just a.
I think that's the only phone that has a screen protector for the front and back.
Yep. I need to get one just for the back. I don't.
Well, I should say Sony's the only one that has phones for that. To get that.
But the G Flex 2 is now a 1080p display, so they stepped that up from the original G Flex. It's got a 64-bit octa-core Snapdragon 810.
Yep, it's actually the first 810. Well, to be announced, I should say, not to be available because it's going to 18-inch Sprint, but no release date yet. So something could beat it. We'll see.
Yeah, and we may not see it for a couple of months, but
it depends. Because last year we got it pretty much right away. So we'll see.
13 megapixel camera with OIS and the laser autofocus from the G3. 16 or 32 gigs of storage and a micro SD card slot, and it runs Lollipop out of the box.
Yep, pretty much everything announced this week was running Lollipop. Even that Zenfone 2 was running Lollipop at $199.
Yeah.
I think the only ones that didn't was ZTE and Blue. I think they're still in KitKat. But other than that, I think everybody else is Lollipop. Which that was another thing I was surprised at, and happily surprised at.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see, what else? 3,000 milliamp hour battery in the G Flex 2. And it's got a 23% curve. So
it's a little more curved than the original G Flex.
Yep.
It still flexes just as well as that one did. Which that's the best part of reviewing is flexing that thing. Well, that and taking your keys and scratching the back of it.
And then watching it heal itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was LG's big smartphone announcement. And it looks great. The first G Flex I was kind of like, okay, it's a little bit too big for my taste.
Man,
It's
that
kind of a
battery
proof of
life was
concept.
like, the battery life was so insane.
I'm sure it was.
I mean, 720p, 6-inch display, 30, was it 3000 3500? I think it was 3500 milliamp battery. I think it was
With a
bigger than the G2.
and with a even with a giant display like that, because it was just 720p.
It
Uh,
was also OLED, so less power.
yeah, and LG is all about OLED displays. So they've on their
Well,
TVs too. They've talked about that at
yeah,
CES.
with the G Flex it's OLED, but the like the G2, G3, that's all IPS.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it
But
was
they're looking to put
3500 on the G Flex. That's why it was so insane.
yeah. Well, and with it, you had more room with the 6-inch display on that phone.
Yeah, it wasn't thick at all. I mean,
Mm-mm.
I know a lot of us are like, we want thicker phones, not just because of the battery life, but because it'll be more comfortable to hold. Like the Joy Turbo, that thing was so comfortable to hold because it's thicker, so because of the bigger battery,
Yep.
compared to some of these really thin phones. Well, like that blue Vivo Air and some of the other Chinese ones. They're just so thin, it's not really that comfortable. I'd
Yep.
take the extra battery any day. I'm sure everybody else would too,
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
especially those that have an iPhone 6.
Yeah, they would. They need to take an Android phone. Is what they need to
They need to get more support for that frame.
do. So that was LG for phones. Nick interviewed Carl Pei from OnePlus, and that was a great interview. He talked to Carl for like almost half an hour. Asked him about their relationship with Cyanogen Inc. Asked him about um, the kind of the success of the company and kind of where they've come, how far they've come in the past year. He was Nick was pretty bold with some of the stuff, and he asked him about straight up about some of the big mistakes they've made, and if they would change anything
Like
over
the
the past.
ladies' first selfie.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a great interview, man. I was really stoked to see that. And Carl was really honest. He's like, "Look, man, we had some good ideas, we had some bad ideas, we screwed some stuff up." Um, he said at one point, let me see if I can find the quote. Carl said, "Going forward, the OnePlus that we show to the world will be much more professional and less controversial." So they're learning. They understand that they've done some stupid stuff and they're fixing it. One of the things that he said was that OnePlus is going to be working on different variants of phones. So we'll have a US and a European variant for devices.
Yeah,
Um,
basically think of like the Nexus 4 and the Nexus 5, how we had, or probably Nexus before that as well, but those are the two that come to mind for me. You had the European version, then you had the US version, and the only difference was the bands. On the current OnePlus, there's only like one band in the UK that's supported right now, and that's why not. Well, I guess there's still quite a few people in the UK buying it, but that's why a lot of people decided not to get it. For instance, Tom, he wanted it, but doesn't fully support the network he's on, so there was no point in getting it really. So they're gonna fix that in the next one.
yep, yep. Um, Carl was pretty frank about the invite system. And we already knew this, but he basically said it was inventory control to keep the risk down. We understood that was going to, um, make us kind of look bad sometimes, but it was about controlling the risk and not spending more money than we had, even if it meant taking off some customers. Um, so if you haven't read the review yet, go read that. It's pretty cool.
I know a lot of people are like, oh, they have money. They're part of Apple. Yeah, that's how you say it, right? I don't know how the finances are going between Apple and OnePlus. If Apple's actually like giving them money, or they just gave them money to get started, or whatever's going on with it. But that's what it sounds like, and we don't have any hard numbers, so we can only go by what Carl has told us and what OnePlus has told us. but basically they don't have the finances of like LG or Samsung or HTC or any of these other ones. So that's why they can't just go ahead and order like a million OnePlus Ones when they announced it back in April. They could only order a few at a time because you can't spend money you don't have.
Yep. Yep. And so between some of the stuff that we saw with Cyanogen Inc.'s CEO kind of bad mouthing OnePlus, and just Carl being really honest with us when he sat down with Nick, I still not necessarily a big fan of some of the stuff they've done, but I've got a little more respect for the company. They make a great phone, so I was happy to see Carl.
Yeah, he didn't say anything bad about OnePlus. Basically, I transcribed the whole thing. I'm trying to think of what he said.
About Cyanogen?
Yeah, it's basically, like we're happy with them. No hard feelings, anything like that. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't be in the spot we are today, which is completely true.
Yep.
Because, think about it. If OnePlus came out with a phone and it just had stock Android on it, not CyanogenMod or even ColorOS from Apple, how many people would buy it? How many people would even pay attention to it? Not as many.
Nope.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I think CyanogenMod was a big marketing thing for them. Really, I mean, it's really what it was. It was a marketing partnership, really.
Yeah, yeah. So that's pretty cool. Go check out that interview if you haven't read that yet. It's up on the site, and it's a good one. So good job, Nick. I've been telling Nick like every few hours. I'm like, hey, dude, you're kicking butt at CES. Good job, man. He's there by himself holding it down for us, and he's running himself ragged all over the place. So really cool. Dude, Nick, we appreciate you, bud.
Yeah, I'll be doing Mobile Congress by myself. Probably be worse.
Oh, I'm sure, man.
Because that's where everybody does their flagships.
Yep, you are going to be busy.
I think LG is supposed to be doing their G4 there too.
Oh yeah, yeah. HTC announced the Desire 826, as well as some new products for like home and fitness and entertainment, some other not Android related stuff. But, whoops.
Yeah, it looks like the link got messed up.
Yeah, I put a space on the end of it. I'll fix that.
Okay.
Just take the space off, and that'll take you to the 826 announcement page. So it's got a 64-bit Snapdragon chipset in it.
410, right?
610.
Oh, 610. Okay, yeah. This one came out like late last night or Monday night, I think it was. Yeah, I think
Monday
when
night.
I saw it at PepCon, so yeah, that would be Monday night.
Yep. So it's got a 2 gigs of RAM, 5.5-inch 1080p display. It's a good-looking phone. 13-megapixel camera on the front and the back, just like the Desire Eye.
Actually, the front one has a 5-megapixel ultra-pixel camera.
Does it? Okay, then our articles are wrong.
This one. I'm pretty sure it's the 826 that's the 5-megapixel front-facing one.
Well, then we'll need to update that because I'm reading it from our article. It says 13 megapixels on the front and back.
Yep. If you look at the picture from the Weeble at the bottom, it's ultra pixel.
Okay.
The ultra pixel, that's going to be interesting on the front. Because, I mean, typically you have crappy, front-facing cameras. But the ultra pixel isn't bad. And if you're just taking selfies, then you're most likely just going to post them on Facebook anyways, or Twitter or Instagram. So that lower resolution isn't really going to matter, but you're going to get more detail in because of the bigger megapixels in there. Was it like 2 microns or something? I forget the exact size.
That would be a good use for the ultra pixel camera.
It's obvious people don't want it on the back. I mean, I like the concept of ultra pixel. I've always gotten pretty good pictures out of it, but I didn't realize a lot of people actually print out their pictures still. I just post them on Google Plus and stuff, so that didn't matter. The resolution didn't matter to me.
Yeah. But yeah, that would be a great way for them to use that ultra pixel camera, and not just scrap the work that they put into it. Um,
Imagine if they had done like the dual camera on the front.
right?
Get like the blurred background for your selfie.
See,
That
yep,
would be
just
kind of cool though.
yeah, you could do it, with mm, some like photo processing software, but
Oh yeah.
it'd be cool if you could do it with the camera. Be fun at least. So they announced that. The other home stuff, I linked to it. The home and fitness entertainment stuff.
Yeah,
I
I didn't
mean,
even see it, so I
that
don't
was
even
one
know
of
what
those
it's
things
about.
that like there was way too much stuff going on.
Yeah,
Uh,
just about everybody announced like connected home stuff. They partnered with the, what's the name of that company?
HTC part or yeah,
Yeah,
HTC partnered with somebody.
yeah, it's like Urban Armor or something like that.
Oh, I don't know.
I forget what the name of that one is, but they're trying to get in, well, as the article says, they're trying to get into the fitness, but they partner with a few companies for different things that we'll probably see more of either Mobile Congress or later this year because it was pretty much just an announcement.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, something else from LG that we forgot to mention when we were talking about the G Flex. They are unofficially showing off a dual-edged flexible display device.
Yep.
It's basically their version of the Note Edge. It's got a 6-inch HD display. We haven't seen it. Obviously, we haven't seen any official pictures of it. It's just a leaked photo.
It's basically being shown off to carriers and stuff like that.
So, but that means they'll probably be announcing their LG version of the Note Edge sometime in the summer.
Yeah, possibly with the G4.
Yep.
Or I mean, maybe not because LG likes to do things a little bit differently. They like to do one smartphone at a time. So if we get the G4 at Mobile Congress, we'll probably get that Edge one at maybe IFA, or maybe it'll be a separate event before that.
That's what I was thinking. IFA or like, right at the end of the summer, sometime September.
I'm still not sure about it being like the G4 being at Mobile Congress though, because they used for the G2 and G3 as a separate event, like in the middle of nowhere. Like it was what or August, I think, for the G2 and like May for the G3. So it's like when no other events are going on, they had their own. So I wonder about the G4.
Yeah, they might just kind of do their own deal again. Let's see. Huawei announced a couple of new phones. Let's see. Nick got some hands-on time with the Honor 6 Plus.
Yeah, they're not actually new. We just got hands on basically.
Okay.
The 6 Plus I think was announced late December, so about 3 weeks ago or so.
Oh, right. Okay.
But it's basically a better version of the Honor 6 that I don't know if he reviewed it yet, but he's working on reviewing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's quite finished that up yet, but he did. That's cool. He got some hands-on time with the 6 Plus to kind of compare the two, to see the upgrades.
The Fuhu Navi tablets, man, they just went crazy. 42, 55, and 65-inch tablets.
Jeez.
I mean, those are bigger than my TV.
Yeah, 6. So those are, I guess, you'd put them on the wall.
Yeah, well,
you're like.
Yeah, that's what the picture's showing. Like the kids painting on the wall. That is the tablet, basically.
Yep. Jeez Louise. That's really cool, actually.
It's cool, but it's crazy. I guess it needs to be plugged up all the time.
Yeah, that's something you'd mount on the wall, like your
Yeah.
TV, and just plug it in and leave it plugged in. I could see, man, you could put one of those like in your kitchen and use it instead of a chalkboard. Take notes on it, grocery lists, that kind of thing. You could put it right in front of your door, like right in front of your.
Arco's launched I think it's called the Kitchen Screen. It's a tablet basically just for a grocery list.
Oh yeah.
It has other apps too, though, so you can pull up recipes, different stuff like that to use in the kitchen. It's actually really cool. I think Nick will probably like it because he liked their home automation stuff, and it fits right in with that whole home automation like kit that he reviewed a couple months ago now.
Yep, yep.
Let's see what else. Oh, that Panasonic like camera phone, the Lumix CM1.
Yeah, this is a
It's,
big deal too. This is
it
cool.
it is coming to America. That's the big deal.
Yep.
Because they announced it last year, and I was like, I want that thing. And then this week they're like, it's coming to America. I'm like, yes, my
Yeah.
next phone.
So it's got a 4.7-inch 1080p display, 2 gigs of RAM. It's running on a Snapdragon processor. It doesn't say which one. They might
It
not have went into
might
specifics.
be the 800 because it's not all that new. It might be the
Mm.
801. I mean, it's not really new. It's close to a year old now, so
It's running
not,
KitKat,
yeah, which is kind of surprising, given it's Panasonic and they don't have a whole lot of experience with Android.
but it's got a 20 megapixel camera on the back.
That's the sweet spot.
Um,
Spot.
Is this the one that's got optical zoom? No, that wasn't this one. That was another one.
I think it's that one, isn't it?
I'm looking to see because there were. I thought there was another one. It doesn't say. Our article doesn't say. But there was one phone that had optical zoom, and it might have been this one. I'll have to look. This Panasonic phone though is $1,000, so you're gonna shell out some good money for it. But the camera should be out of this
I
world.
mean, if the camera is as good as it's supposed to be, that's about as much as you're gonna pay for a camera that's that good, anyways. So
Yeah.
just
So-
for it to be I mean, this Sony Arx 100 is I think it's $798 right now, and that camera is supposed to be right on par with it. So a couple $100 more, and you've got Wi-Fi, LTE, a phone, all in there.
Yep. Yep. Polaroid released a selfie phone.
Yeah, who didn't release one?
Right. Their phone looks kind of like the Oppo. What is it? The N1 that had the rotating camera on the front.
Yep.
So this has got a 5.5-inch 720p display, 2 gigs of RAM. It's running Lollipop, which is cool.
Yeah, Nick went and checked it out today or tonight. I don't know if the
Yeah.
hands-on has gone up yet.
Yeah, I'm
Last
looking at it
time
right now.
Yeah, last time I checked, he was going to find it. MediaTek, they got an Android Wear prototype, and it has a camera.
So this actually, the one this Polaroid camera might be the Oppo N1 because it's got that 13 megapixel swivel camera. It doesn't have a front-facing camera. It's just the swivel, like on the N1.
Yeah, I wonder if Polaroid was just like, just give us the N1, we'll rebrand it as our own.
Yep.
'Cause, I mean,
Well,
it looks
did it-
identical, even the same color.
Did the N1 have a 720p or a 1080p display though?
I have no idea.
Anyway, but yeah, they announced that.
1080p display.
Yeah, so a little bit different, but that's cool. So basically the same hardware other than that.
Yeah.
What about this phone from Sagus? Did you see that? The
I think I
V2
published
Super
it.
smartphone?
I didn't really look at it, but I think I published it earlier.
So it's got a 1080p, a 5-inch 1080p borderless screen, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Snapdragon processor, 64 gigs of RAM. The SD card slot, micro SD card slot, supports up to 256 gigabyte cards. 21 megapixel camera on the back and 13 megapixel camera on the front.
So I wonder if that's a Sony sensor on the back.
Probably.
Just about every 21 megapixel is a Sony sensor these days.
3100 milliamp hour battery, and it's IPX7 certified for underwater use. This phone is crazy. This is crazy.
Look at the price tag; it's probably just as crazy.
I don't see a price listed.
There probably isn't one yet.
It's got Qi wireless charging.
Man, that thing's gonna take
Uh,
forever to charge.
it's got both CDMA and GSM technologies built into it, but Segas isn't saying what networks or bands it supports, so that's interesting. Weird. Segas is also saying that it's including something called wireless HD technology, which lets users send wireless video to any monitor or television using a 60 gigahertz wireless dongle. This is so odd. This is like the weirdest phone ever. This thing can do everything. Take video underwater. Uh, yeah. So if you want to see something really interesting, go check out the Sega's V2 Super smartphone that they announced at CES.
There's something else that's really interesting. There's a speaker. I don't think we covered it though. There's a speaker yesterday that was announced. I can't remember the name of it, but man, it is indestructible. Like they did a YouTube video of it. They ran it over, nothing. They shot it, a bunch of times, still playing. They blew it up a couple of times. It like melted and it was still playing.
Whoa,
Like the whole frame was melted, but it was still playing. Like
that's a
perfectly.
fun. Yeah, that's a fun video to shoot.
Of course, that's a fun one to shoot when you get to blow up stuff.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
We should probably watch out how we say that though.
Right, right.
NSA is probably watching or
Yeah,
listening.
be careful. Um,
Kodak has a phone too. Probably so.
yeah,
Probably a selfie phone too. I didn't really look at it.
I saw that they announced one. I read a little bit about it, and apparently the camera on it is not that great. And
Well, it is a Kodak.
right, but a camera company should have a decent camera on their phone. Whatever.
I never saw decent cameras from them really. I mean, the ones I used from them were like years and years ago, probably like 2006 or earlier.
Well, yeah,
So
because
they've
they.
improved a lot since then. I mean, cameras in general have improved a lot since then, but I've never been impressed with their stuff really.
Well, this is not Kodak, the same company, because that company went
Yeah,
bankrupt. This is another company that bought the name. So Dell announced some new stuff too. A
yeah,
big
that
tablet.
Venue 8. That Venue 8, man, that thing looks so good. It reminds me of the Sharp Aquos Crystal. Yeah, that's the one Sprint has, where it's like, it's bezel-less, but then it has like that chin at the bottom with everything.
Yep.
Except this one isn't quite bezel-less. It's close, but not quite.
But almost, yeah. It's got a really small bezels. QHD display.
Yep.
It's
It's
Intel chipset.
yep. We got hands-on with that today, so that's on the site already.
Yeah, pretty
Um,
cool.
just going through
Good
seeing
looking
what
tablet.
else is here.
Uh, Dell also
Oh,
announced the Dell Cast,
yeah.
which is to compete with Chromecast. I don't know why, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Nick loves it, but I'm not sure why it needed to exist.
It doesn't
Uh,
work. It's not designed to work with every Android smartphone or tablet. It only works with Dell Android tablets.
which is like 3 tablets,
Yeah,
maybe 4. I think it's 4 because this is like their third Venue 8, and they did a Venue 7 last year. So just not like there's a ton of Dell Android tablets out there. If you go to Windows tablets, there's a lot more, but it's not a whole lot of choices there.
but it also says that they are, because they're doing it that way, they are able to do some other cool stuff with it. You can basically like plug in with the HDMI dongle. It's got a full USB port on the bottom, so you can plug in like a wireless mouse and keyboard, and use your Dell tablet as like a PC, all wirelessly through this Dell Cast dongle.
Yeah.
So kind of cool functionality. It'd be nice if they brought it to more devices.
They announced some laptops too. Obviously, we didn't cover them because they're not, Chromebooks. But from what I've seen from other sites that do cover it, they're actually pretty nice laptops. I think there's a new XPS 13 that's really nice.
Yeah, they announced a. I don't know if it was the XPS 13 or which XPS one it was, with like an edge-to-edge display.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. Think I don't know what the name of it was. I don't even know what their product lines are anymore for Windows.
It was an XPS, but I don't know the full name or the screen size.
I think it was a 13. That's the one I remember seeing though. But I
Yeah,
mean,
edge-to-edge, man.
and it's not going to be cheap.
No, absolutely not. Um,
I mean, as long as it's light, I'm happy with that. I mean, that's more screen with less space on a laptop. But if it's heavy, that's going to be the issue because you're going to be porting that around. Most people will be.
yep. Let's see. So some other stuff that wasn't necessarily.
Oh, Sony, their smartwatch 3, a stainless steel, and also
Oh,
I actually have mine here packed up ready to go back. So I'll just show it in here. The watch part that's right there. It pops out of the whole thing. So what they're doing now is they're selling like this holder here is what they're calling it. That's gonna be separate, so you can use your own watch bands that attaches to that.
oh,
Which they
interesting.
should have done in the first place, but they didn't. And some of the ones that they had on display, man, they look nice. I wasn't a big
Yeah,
fan of the black silicone one, like from pictures, but once I got in person, it's like that's not too bad. But some of the other ones I got now, especially that stainless steel one, man, it looks so good.
yeah, dude, it does. They look
Thing
great.
is, I bet that steel one's gonna be like at least $400 because the silicone one is 300
Yeah, and they'll charge an extra $100 for the stainless steel band.
probably. Let's
Uh,
see, Motorola's charging 50 for theirs, so probably 50 to 100 for Sony as well.
yep.
Plus, it's not just the band; it's the part around the watch face as well as steel. So
Let's see. Oh, AT&T. So this was AT&T announced rollover data too.
yep.
This was just today.
And John Ledger's already going off on them.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure.
I need to go look at that in a little bit.
Yep, yep. So it works pretty much the same way as T-Mobile's rollover data. You use your regular data allotment first, and then you hit your rollover data. They said that unused rollover data does not carry over, is the quote that they used, but then in the breakdown, let's see, when Justin wrote about it, he said that it recycles after a year, so it's the same like rolling 12 months that T-Mobile has with their rollover data.
Yeah, earlier they were saying that it only rolls over for a month. So like if you have 2 gigs you didn't use this month, you have to use it next month or it's gone.
Yeah,
And of
okay.
course you gotta use your data bucket first and then you can use that.
Yeah,
There's that it just made it like well, what's the point in it? You know? But now that they've updated that press release so it rolls for 12 months, because when they did rollover minutes, like, what was that, like 2007, 2008, around that time, it would roll over for 12 months. And I think by the end of the year, I had like thousands of minutes left.
right,
I never
right.
used any of mine.
Yeah. So now,
But
same thing with data, and it makes a little
yeah,
more sense to do it that way.
I was kind of surprised that, they hadn't done it already, because they did rollover minutes, you'd think they'd have the idea, or maybe that was all a singular idea. I never heard of those guys.
Yeah, right. Um, so yeah, you said John Ledger is already bashing it to AT&T over this.
Yeah,
Uh,
Justin sent me a screenshot of what he was saying. I haven't read it though.
I'm sure it's funny.
Oh, yeah.
T-Mobile announced some preliminary Q4 2014 numbers. They broke 55 million subscribers, and they passed Sprint, so now they're in the number 3 spot.
They passed Sprint for now. I'd
Right.
put an asterisk under there or after that because Sprint hasn't announced their Q4 numbers yet. So that's why I was saying in the article temporarily because T-Mobile is always, they want to announce it at CES so they can get all the press, even though they're gonna get it all anyways because they have John Ledger as their CEO. But basically, their preliminary numbers were, was it 2.1 or was it 2.3?
They added 2.1 million net
Okay,
customers.
so the last one was 2.3.
Yep.
So 3 out of 4 quarters they added 2 million people for a total of 8.3 over the whole year. That's not bad at all for a company that was, you know, not doing too well. But what, a year and a half, 2 years ago now, they were
Right.
losing almost a million a quarter.
Yep.
That's like a huge turnaround.
Yep. They added a total of, they're saying, 8.3 million net customers in 2014.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and I can't see. So Sprint at the end of quarter three,
Sprint,
2014,
yeah.
was it just under 55 million, and now T-Mobile is saying they're over 55 million.
T-Mobile is like 55 million and 18,000 customers. That's the exact number. Sprint, I'm pretty sure it was rounded up a little bit, but it was like 54.8 million. So it's not a huge gap, but there is a gap there right now. And depending on what Sprint did in Q4, T-Mobile might drop back down to number 4 once they announce their numbers, which might just happen because Sprint stores have been getting busier since Marcelo took over a couple months ago now.
And they actually added customers in Q3, didn't they? By only like a couple 100,000.
Yeah, I think it was a really small number because, well, a lot of the negative numbers were still from the Nextel stuff, and
Yeah.
that finally finished up after Q2. So Q3 they finally got back to adding customers instead of just trying to stay afloat.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, I like that they're getting, well, both of them are getting AT&T and Verizon competing now. More AT&T than Verizon, but it's still happening.
Right. Yeah, man, that's huge. That is huge.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still on T-Mobile, and the biggest part is actually the roaming. With all the trips I have going out of the country, it's just easier just to, use Edge for a day or two instead of having to pay for roaming data.
Yeah. Yeah.
That stuff is not cheap. And even their high-speed roaming data is cheaper than everybody else. 500 megabytes for $50, at AT&T that's like 120 megabytes.
Yeah. Yeah. Overseas data is for roaming data. If you're trying to use
Dude,
a U.S. carrier overseas, it's outrageous. It's crazy.
data in China is crazy. I was looking at an international sim for the second trip I did over there. Everybody is like 18 cents per megabyte or lower. China is like 250 per megabyte. It's like
Holy smokes.
I'm better off with T-Mobile, just roaming
Yeah.
on them.
Yep.
I don't know why it's so expensive over there. I mean, it's so slow.
Yep. What else, man? Anything else jump out at you from CES? Because that's all that I had on the agenda, plus a whole bunch more.
See what else we've got here.
I'm sure there's some more stuff. Oh, I do want to mention this too while you're looking up what else at CES. We are giving away a 1+1. So they, I think it's a 16 gig version, not the 64 gig version.
Yeah, I think it might be, which is kind of weird. I don't know how they got that.
I mean, it's fine. Whatever. It's a free phone.
Yeah.
It's through the Android Headlines Deals website, so you can go enter that to give away or to win a 1+1 in our giveaway. So if you're looking for a new phone, if you want a free phone, or if you just really want a 1+1, it's a pretty cool giveaway.
I think what was even more interesting than the Android Auto and Android TV stuff was Samsung announced nothing mobile. I mean, we sat through that whole press conference, nothing. Like I was checking or Samsung Mobile's Twitter account. They didn't say anything about the press conference. I'm like, I don't think they have anything. 45 minutes came and went. They talked about TVs, appliances, nothing mobile. And they didn't announce anything mobile. Well, the Samsung Gear VR, they announced some stuff for that, but it's just like Milk Music for that and stuff like that, but not any new phones. And that's a first for Samsung. They said they were gonna cut back, and it looks like they're doing that.
Yep. Yep. And they had
Well,
they had some phones on display. They had like the A3 and the
yeah,
A5 and
technically they did announce a phone for Boost Mobile, the Prevail LTE or Prevail 2 LTE or something like that. But that's a phone that's only on Boost Mobile, so nobody really cares and doesn't really matter that much.
yep.
So technically they announced one, but still there was like nothing from them, which is crazy because last year they announced like 10 tablets.
Yeah, they said they were going to scale back, and they certainly did.
Yep.
Anything else, man?
I think that's about it. I think that's about it.
That's still only a fraction of the stuff that we covered on the site, and we only got to a fraction of the stuff at CES, man. You can go to AndroidHeadlines.com and pull up the CES 2015 section, and there's you spend all day tomorrow browsing stuff, man. There's so much stuff. It's great. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
there's a ton of speakers that were announced. I think Braven announced like 100 speakers. They're like the new Samsung, but their
I'm cool with
speakers
that.
are awesome.
They can send them all to me, and I'll review them.
Their speakers are so awesome. Oh,
Yep.
Incipio, that off-grid battery backup. It's got a Qualcomm Quick Charge 2.0 now. I mean, it's like
Nice.
6,000 milliamp battery, but if it's like the other off-grid that they had sent me, it has Qi charging as well, so you can just put your phone on top of it and charge it from the battery pack, which is why it's going to be more expensive.
Right, but that's really cool.
Oh
That's
yeah,
a cool feature too.
yeah. There's a ton of wearables. Alcatel had their own watch announced. It actually looks really nice. I mean, it looks like the Moto 360 without the flat tire, but
Yeah.
it also doesn't need Android. It can work on Android or iOS. I think it works with Firefox OS as well, which is the interesting part. Maybe that works.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't remember the Firefox part, but I remember seeing that it was Android or iOS. It's not an Android Wear device.
Yeah, I think it was an Android Wear device, and at 149, everybody would go crazy for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it looks as good as the Moto 360. We got pictures of it yesterday or day before, I think it was yesterday. It's a really nice looking watch, and at 149 Android Wear, that thing would sell so quick.
Yep. Yeah, and there was a ton of watches and other wearables that were announced too.
Yep.
That we've been going for an hour and a half. We still haven't had time to talk about everything. It's great, man. I love CES. But I think that's going to do it for the Android Headline Show, episode 90, CES 2015 edition. So you can obviously find us at AndroidHeadlines.com, on Twitter at Android Headline without the S. What else? Google Plus, Facebook.
Everywhere.
Yeah, go look up Nick on Google Plus and tell him good job at CES. Or you get at me or Alex if you want to on Twitter or Google Plus, or send us an email. We are back with the Android Headline Show every week. Now we took a little bit of time off for the holidays, but we're back in 2015, going strong, man. I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun year, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Well, Alex, thanks for hanging out tonight, man. It's always a good time.
Yep, no problem. See you next week.
Have a good night.